discussed well what are the thoughts or what are the factors which may be responsible for obesity or hyperglycemia, I thought let's divide it into three components. One, during the treatment, post-treatment, and other factors. So yes, during treatment, there is exposure to so much of corticosteroids, elastogenase, and as we know the side effects, the likelihood of that certain therapies make you feel hungry, certain will cause water retention, craving for food, the type of food you would choose, which will be more caloric. So these are the predominant factors where obesity goes. Now, I will not really separate out obesity and hyperglycemia because we all know in a one line we can complete that there is obesity, you are eating a lot of empty calories, then there is inflammatory markers, insulin resistance, and there is a hyperglycemia. So this goes hand in hand. Coming back, post-treatment, yes, which part of the body? If there is an abdominal kind of involvement, if the gut is involved, gut microbiota, this is a responsible thing. Pancreatic insufficiency, that itself you understand by which the sugar levels can spike up. And looking at the other factors, genetic, there could be chances that there is a genetic, the family itself inherits obesity. So that is going to add on the factor of obesity or gaining weight. And other factors like social, don't go out of the house, be in the house, chances of infection are more, you must eat a good diet, but what you are eating doesn't matter. Okay, the child this denies eating the right food, so just pamper with his favorite food. So are we dwelling into the good counseling factors or not? So we need to look at all these factors while we are planning our diets. This is the same what I just said. The potential mechanism is observed increasing risk, including alterations. So yes, at adipocytes, which releases, or at leptin level, adiponectin, pancreatic insufficiency, poor dietary habits, sedentary lifestyle, these are the responsible factors which is responsible for hyperglycemia and obesity. You have the adipocytes, it produces many things. Leptin is produced, hypothalamus controls, and as a result, there is fatty acid oxidation, there is gluconeogenesis, insulin secretion, insulin resistance, all in all are fighting with each other and causing a havoc of our biochemical parameters. So this explains that it's not only about talking about sugar management or weight management, but the likelihood of other risk factors which are going to be causing an interference. What are these? Like when you look at the cancer treatment, we are actually just checking weight, but we are not checking on the body composition. You really don't know what are you losing on or what are you gaining on. So that is our way forward. So assuming body fat increases, this is likely that your calorie intake is more, there is decreased physical activity. I think we all know about this. Chances of other comorbidities also increase with obesity. Now when we talk about hyperglycemia, what do you mean by hyperglycemia? So this is a Japanese study which defined, or as we all also know about hyperglycemia, which is like a random sugar or a fasting sugar. What is the exact measurement and what should you check on? Whether you should do CGM monitoring or you do AGT or you do a routine biochemical in a lab, or what should you do? It is seen that mostly hyperglycemia occurs in 8 days of prednisolone treatment. What does medications do is that they cause a defect in your beta cell dysfunction. So there is a defect in the beta cell dysfunction resulting in high insulin resistance and causing of gluconeogenesis, hepatic gluconeogenesis. So that is the predominant reasons. This is just the theory and a background. Why we are talking about theory? Once we know what is going wrong in pathophysiology, then can we have a right measure as nutrition. Still I have not come to our main topic of management. So now we look at nutritional management. And here I'm going to definitely talk about ABCD, and I have evolved and gone up to E and F, and further G and H is in the pipeline. Many times we are not understanding, yes, weight is increasing. Yes, weight is increasing, but way forward, what is the cause of weight gain should be a reason. So we normally give advice, and we love giving advice without hearing much. Sometimes, sometimes I'm tired. No, once I say, okay, I'm not going to talk. Let me understand. And the patients, parents, they want to talk to you so much. And sometimes we have seen certain clinicians, then they will say, parents, you hold. They will just ask the child if the child is grown up. You want to hear from the child. So it makes sense to ask questions to both and understand the perspective. Very often when we walk in the room also we find that there's a different perspective of the family members. So similarly, I feel weight is that way. Weight is a number which reflects on the scale. But as we know, weight can contribute to hydration. We should not be glad that after one cycle, another cycle, the weight has improved. Oh, that's nice, underweight. But it can be related to hydration, can be tumor mass. Maybe you're losing muscle because you're just seeing the child inactive. They are walking on wheelchair. So this itself shows that we have to be mindful, not only about the number in terms, but are we checking on height? Because height is also responsible. We have to, the growing age, height, weight, MUAC, plotting that on the charts is important. I'll be just drifting myself from the obesity and hyperglycemia, also stressing on the other components. And when you talk about anthropometrics, let's not focus on weight, but let's focus on all these components which come under the anthropometric. While we are talking about biochemical parameters, are we looking only at the sugars? No. We need to look at the entire portfolio. We need to look at the CBC entirely, which counts are going up, is the hemoglobin right, are there signs of inflammation? Yes, very often there are signs of inflammation. Micronutrient deficiencies are likely to happen and we have to take care. Is the lipid profile okay? HbA1c okay, or is it, because sugar, it may be a hyperglycemia, but when you are treating in long run, whether you have elevated levels which are in the pre-diabetic, diabetic range, that is where also we have to refer. We need not suddenly get scared that, oh, sugars are high, but we have to keep monitoring it. Along with obesity, there are each and every part of the body which is at risk. So, and complication can happen at any part of the body. And if not taken care, it can result in infections, it can cause sepsis, it can cause breathing issues, change in the kidney profile. So watch out for all. So your biochemical parameters are going to link you to find out what are the other complications, and we need to take care of these too. Diet recall, I think we all do it. So this is an interesting one. They have segregated different ways of taking detailed diet history. There is something like how you say, what is your weight and what is your usual weight? Sometimes you say, I've just lost, but my usual weight is like this. Like I'm 60, but recently I have 65, so I've gained 5 weight. So my usual weight is 60. So something what you usually eat when you are at home and when you are up for treatment, that changes. So we need to understand taking the total diet history, understanding a 24-hour recall, because 24-hour recall will give you an idea of your macro and micronutrients. As per the RDA, how much are you getting it, what really you need to work on. If you have a strong data collection at the first visit, and if we just have a follow-up plan, I think it will work good, because then we can pull out some data and understand that over 2 months or over next a quarter, till 1 year, what has happened. We also forget that there are certain foods, as child, there will be cravings to eat lot of sweet, junk food, salty, chips. This is the first things which the hospital, and they are going to be in hospital for some time or a longer time. We see mixed patients. We see patients who have traveled from outstation, local, as well as international. But one common phenomenon what we see is that their eating pattern drastically changes. The first is the mode of pampering. So there is a craving, give what you want, give a free hand, and there will be places where we allow food to get from home because the child is reluctant to eat what is being offered in the hospital. We do try to give certain kind of a good options to that. Parental counseling is important. While we take diet history, we need to check at the list that what is the craving for? Is the call for salt? Is it for sweets? And how can we manage? We need to counsel on nutrition, labeling, reading. So I'm not talking about high glycemic foods. In my present talk, I'm not going to talk because all of us know what the complex carbohydrates, which are the simple, high fiber diet is required. We are all good at it. But I wanted to, food pyramid, eat adequately, eat liberally. So vegetables, simple advice, add color to your diet. Include 5 color vegetables, green, white, yellow, orange, red, purple. That will give you lots of antioxidants. The fiber intake is high. So as we also counsel, we have to counsel on the sequencing. Depends whether the child is feeling fuller. Normally, if the child is obese, then how will you look at? So if the child is obese and hunger is more, then the satiety will come with a liquid first. So allow liquids along with the fiber, like how we go with the sequencing. Protein and the carb portion to be cut down. So you are not cutting on your plate, you are just cutting down on the carbohydrate content. If it is a child who is lean, you need to add on calories. So then you can have things like a paratha where you can increase and you can stuff it. So it is going to be different. A practicing dietitian should be also well versed with the food options of their city, origin, place, tradition, and so on. So look at the food label, look at what are the available options, and then we tell or guide them. So we normally don't label this, and we have to start promoting, giving an idea in their mind what foods we are eating. HFSS, that is, what will come under the label of high fat, salt, sugar foods. It's all commercial processed foods, which is the first choice for everyone to eat. The importance is that you don't say that it's bad, you have to cheat. The amount of carbohydrate to be reduced, protein enriched, so follow the pyramid, cut down on HFSS, make a chart. Always your do list should be more than a void list. So we have to be little bit artistic, and wherever you feel, put it in moderate. That is how we can manage it. I feel we never use something like advanced glycation end products, but today's our patients and their family, they like all these technical words, big words coming, and most of the foods which are available, instant, loved by children is this. End result, glycation, which is the first reason for inflammation to go up. Your sugar content is much higher and the risk is increased. So stay away from all the foods wherein there is a high, and also aggravated by high temperature. So we have to be thinking how we are going to combine. So if you are taking a protein, carbohydrate, heating at a high temperature, that is going to have more damaging effect. The taste, crunch, crispiness, again you are going to eat more. Salt is coming more. So we have to be mindful when we do our diet planning. Generally, I always thought, is being mindful good with adults? No, it is for all of us as professionals, for children. Yes, we can explain it less if a child is very small. We have to explain it to the parents. But if we have if we change the entire plan, it's like if I'm giving a plan and I ask, oh, no, you have to do this. But if I change, for example, if I said, you sit over there and I'm a patient's mother and you guide me, I will answer your questions. Firstly, why are you eating? Why do you want a diet plan? What is our purpose? Our purpose is appropriate growth, control of biochemical parameters, manage weight, okay? Then when are we eating? When are we eating means there is a tendency to not eat appropriately at one meal. They will keep on moving. They are not sitting like adults. Adults example is like, they are working and eating. Again, when they are eating, they are also watching television. The basic principle of chewing, digestion goes for a toss because you are not concentrating on what you are eating. So why are you eating? The basic, you are eating because we need good energy, we need a distribution of our macros and micros, you are planning antioxidant in your diet, you sit in one place and eat, and yes, after eating, are we investing our energy? Is there a physical activity? Because we find, if they are in hospital, they will be sitting in one place, television, gadgets, exposure can go it in right or wrong. Instead, if there are hospitals, places, we should have these videos running and promoting what good habits can be. Put a mindful cycle and go on repeating this on a third day or something, because then the thing of repetitive things becomes into a habitual mode. To summarize what we spoke, we looked at the anthropometric, biochemical, clinical and diet history. And what is our main work? Nutrition counseling. When do we do nutrition counseling? Always. Always, during visit, after follow-up, for any kind of, during the admissions, every day we meet the patient. So every day we have to. So don't give everything at one go. First visit, just say you are on this diet. Suppose it is a follow-up. In first visit, you give a plan. Next visit, we ask them. Okay, and then that is where after counseling, we check out that how much of the calories are being met. Are we eating adequately or not? Is there a need for supplement? Because most of the supplements are designed in such a fashion that they will be protein enriched, fiber source, maybe the carbohydrate content is on the lower side. So choose your supplement accordingly. If they don't like supplements, whip it up. Neutral can go into your soups and your foods, which can be made. Otherwise, you can make it into the sweet kind of preparation and they will have in their taste. So your need for sugars is decreased. So having a custard or having a fruit puree mix, you can even mix with nuts and give a kind of a nut and a supplement mix, like a smoothie kind of thing. When we have complicated cases and the oral functioning, the ability to eat is not there, we always look for enteral. Parental, yes, we have to really boost, the gut is compromised, you're not able to. So this is a kind of algorithm when we look, but yes, the options are nutrition counseling, oral supplementation, enteral, parental, or partial supplemental. So we look into all these aspects if required. So we spoke about ABCD as per the consensus, and this is where I thought we need to highlight is E for emotions. Emotions play a big role in our life, and food and mood goes hand in hand. For a child, yes, they have, half the time they may be crying, but you offer a right food, they will smile. As counselors, we should have some good thought process of counseling techniques. What is the burning issue? If the pain is a burning issue, we have to deal with the pain, because sometimes that will make you not eat. Sometimes they are happy with wrong food, but they cannot be happy with wrong food always. So you have to manage not the pediatric emotions, but pediatric parents' emotions, and then follow up it with a good plan and counseling. We have nothing to do, so we eat. So and whoever comes are offering foods. So keep the right foods beside. All the time, if you're in bed, either you're watching television, so ask questions that how much time am I seeing? What am I seeing? Am I seeing something interesting, motivating things? Type of program also affect. So everything, and along with that is your exercise and physical fitness. Now you'll wonder why I put exercise and physical fitness. When you exercise for your body, there is an increase in circulation, the hormone secretion is better, digestion is better, your results for managing your sugars, weight management are all. And everything is linked up. You cannot separate out, each of these components. So all I have put in under emotions. F for follow-up. Follow-up, whatever we have done till now, it's time for follow-up. So follow-up in different setups. For hospitalized patients, it will be daily. For those patients who are coming for chemotherapy, it will be as per the next visit. Sometimes the patients are in the other city. So telephonically, and video counseling is possible. Now here comes the importance of such sessions with the experienced dietitians. So anybody who is mastered. Now, when I did my masters, we did not have any specialization, but you all are good. You have pediatric as your specialization, you have oncology as your specialization. So being a specialist adds value when you are a professional and handling pediatric oncology. Motivational interviewing and cognitive behavioral therapy. So motivational interviewing is that, yes, you are asking questions. While you are interviewing them, you are also guiding, because there's sometimes no hope. Means they will start with backup. We were eating all good habits, but what happened? See, nothing has happened. The point kya hai karke? So it's not that. So motivation, having a motivational movies, discussion, reading about the same point is much important. Cognitive behavioral therapy, again, not what a dietitian specializes, but it is with the psychologists. We have learned that CBT, it helps in patient management, and what they do is they always motivate. The negative emotions are subdued, and the good emotion, motivation is always inspired. So when you are following up, when it comes to hyperglycemia, how do we? Because every time you are not going to do blood glucose, sometimes CGM is done. Now CGM is such, it gives us guidance. It will give you a guidance. You will be doing for consecutive days, you should not worry, because there will be a difference between your blood which is taken and one which is for CGM. But you have to be more warmed up if it is hypoglycemia. And it is required because if the child is on insulin, that is where for a phase CGM monitoring, if the doctor recommends, it is required. So CGM alone cannot work, but your diet history, daily diet, along with that, so that you're correlating the values will help. Certain which foods is a problem. If you find a pattern, then maybe from our diet we can eliminate, we can combine. Maybe our timing is important. So all timing taken, the days, medications, all goes in hand when you do a follow. Thank you very much.